You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM at KKNW, the Saturday, May 14 show. I've built a network of elite industry professionals every week, sharing their knowledge and expertise with you, my listeners. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online at themoneyhour.com. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And right now in studio, Greg Nunn with Nunn Better Tax Resolution. We're going to talk about taxpayer identity theft. Greg, thank you for coming back in studio.
Thank you, Tina. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I've seen you a little bit this week with Lunch and Learn, visit in studio. So thank you for all of the support. A little bit about Greg for those of you that have not heard him. And by the way, he's got a lot of great segments listed on The Money Hour. So go to the podcast, The Money Hour, and just search Greg Nunn if you want some more great tax advice. He is my personal tax guy, and he is the tax guy for the show. So you can listen to all of his podcasts, just a wealth of information. But a little bit about Greg. Greg Nunn is founder and principal of Nunn Better Tax Resolution in Redmond, Washington, the first firm of tax resolution specialists in Washington State. His passion is helping people that find themselves in a predicament with the IRS due to failing to file tax returns and or not paying what the IRS claims they owe. He represents these troubled taxpayers vigorously before the IRS. His practice also provides tax preparation and tax planning for individuals and businesses. Gregory is a licensed CPA in the state of Washington and just finished celebrating his 30th year anniversary as a CPA. He's also a member of the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers, the premier association of professionals helping troubled taxpayers. In 2013, he received the top Practitioner Award from the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers. He is also a certified tax resolution specialist. And happy to say Greg published his book titled Solve Your Tax Problems Now, and which was a great read, Greg. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And let's just go ahead and start it right off with how many taxpayers experience identity theft? I'm afraid to hear the answer to this.
Yeah, and really the answer is nobody knows for sure. But it's at least 1.4 million. I've heard some that it's over 2 million. And I mean, it's just a rampant thing that's going on. The amount of money that folks have stole, if you will, from the U.S. government by getting false refunds is in excess of $6 billion.
Yeah,
billion, with a B, billion.
Billion. And I've heard recently, I mean, there's been a lot in the nonprofit sector that's been affected by theft and identity. Yeah, it's just very sad. So, Greg, what is a taxpayer ID theft?
It is when your Social Security number has been used by somebody else to file a false tax return, a fraudulent tax return.
So obviously they're filing someone's tax return that's going to be getting money back.
Well, not necessarily, because what they do sometimes is they try to get a bunch of tax credits that are out there for people that are low income, like the child tax credit or the earned income credit. And they just send a bazillion tax returns in, hope they get processed. And if they do, you know, hey, all of a sudden they got 5, 10, 15, 20, hundreds of thousands of dollars pouring into their account fraudulently.
Yeah. Wow. So, Greg, how will I know if I have a taxpayer ID theft, and what are the warning signs?
These are the sneak up on you kind of warning signs. Most taxpayer identity occurs and it takes some time before you even know that it happened. The way that it often happens is you go to e-file your tax return and it gets rejected because it says, hey, there's already been a tax return filed under this Social Security number. If that happens, you're probably 99% sure it's going to be ID theft.
Got it.
And that's just a real bad deal. A couple of other signs: you filed your tax return, but your refund is just not coming to you. You know, what's going on? That's another sign. And also the IRS might send you a letter indicating, hey, we're looking at your tax stuff. Looks like there's some income and tax credits that just aren't jiving. So all those things are warning signs. But the biggest one really is attempting to e-file that tax return.
So, Greg, what happens if you do have a taxpayer ID theft?
It's time to take action. Don't bury your head in the sand. If you're going to shed a few tears, fine, but get the Kleenex out, dry those tears off, and take some action.
Makes total, just like anything else. You want to deal with it right away and not
you got to.
And put
it could be
off.
one of these things that just keeps
getting worse,
decaying, if you will, your whole financial life.
So, Greg, how do you notify the IRS of theft?
Well, it's like any other theft. When we, have our house burglarized or something of that nature, we file a police report. So that's the first thing that needs to be done, is to file a police report with your local police department that you have had identity theft. From there, you also should notify or file a formal complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. And then there's a form the IRS wants you to file. It's an affidavit. It's Form 14039, Affidavit of Identity Theft. And that's exactly what it is. You explain to them why you think you have identity theft, provide them the number of the police report that you reported the theft with, and it's a signed affidavit under penalties of perjury. So it's not something to take lightly to file that thing. But hey, if you have identity theft, get that in there ASAP.
Okay, and Greg, so what about timing? How long does it take for the IRS to process the identity theft? Are they taking their sweet old time? Or
keep in mind what we're talking about here. It's the Internal Revenue Service that it's hard to really understand what service means there anymore. And it will take
we got to be careful what we're saying over mic here. We don't want to make the IRS mad.
Well, I love the IRS.
I know you do.
I'm not going to do a Donald Trump on you, but I do have a lot of good friends at the IRS, and they're just fantastic. Seriously, there's a lot of good professionals there, without a doubt. But they are understaffed, and it does take time to process these things. And they're really, frankly, I think more interested in collecting revenue than they are trying to help people with identity theft.
So there's not a fast pace when something comes in that says theft that all the red lights are going off to push that through the process a little quicker.
Nothing of that nature. It's not like calling 911 and having the ambulance there within 5 minutes. It's going to take months.
Wow.
At least 7 to 9 months ordinarily.
Okay.
For them to process the whole thing.
So let's talk about protection. So the best thing is to make sure that this doesn't happen to you so you don't have to go through that process. So how do you reduce the risk of becoming a taxpayer identity theft victim?
Like many things in life, whether it be medical, car, insurance, or whatever it is, preemptive protection is the best defense against identity theft. And just think of the common things, in life. That is, how many times do you go somewhere and they request your social security number? And we've all seen the ads, on TV on the identity theft where they write down the person's social security number. And hey, if you go somewhere, I would challenge them. Do you really need my social security number? And, just don't willy-nilly give it out to anybody. It's your number. And it's unique to you. And if other people get it, especially in today's high-tech society, look out. They're going to be doing their thing. Some other things, of course, is the computer, right? We got to have good protection on our computer. Virus software, all of that good stuff. Make sure you keep it updated.
Don't use the same password for every single login.
Don't use the same password forever and ever, and not for every single login. Although I know some might use a simple one for sites that maybe aren't so.
But I've even heard with on the computers too. When you're interested in something, they give you this really cool thing. If you're interested in cats, you get access to the special thing. You put that password in to get access, and if you use that same password now, they just go try all your stuff, and sure enough, that password gets them in. So I was just going to say I had to learn that the hard way. That's not what I meant to say, because I have not had identity theft, but I used to use the same password for everything.
Yeah.
And I went to a presentation, and it scared the jeebus out of me.
Right.
So Greg, what can you do what should you do if you receive a threatening phone call from the IRS? Thank God I haven't had that happen either. But
I want to come back just a little bit with the computer thing, because the phishing stuff, where you get some kind of email that basically like what you just described. Yes, it's asking you for personal information.
So you can have access to this really cool stuff.
That's right.
Yes.
But there's guys out there now that will send out these emails, and tax professionals are getting them, and they look and smell and taste like it is really the IRS. Yeah. And then you click on their link, and it does take you to the IRS site, but you're being channeled through their computer system, so they're recording every frickin' keystroke. Crazy. Yeah. And the phone calls.
Threatening phone call from the IRS.
Calls, man. We're going to send the sheriff to your house, and you're under arrest, and you owe us $1 billion. And
these are bad fraud people.
These are bad people, and I tell you, they sound like pros. They're good. Yeah.
Because the IRS wouldn't do that. The IRS is not going to pick up the phone and threaten that they're going to send the police to your house.
They will do no threatening over the phone like that whatsoever. They're more professional than that. And one tactic that these guys use is putting that information on a voicemail, because then if you listen to it and you go, man, I better call back, you call back, it's like they've got a live lead now. Yeah. Because you're responding to something and they're going, oh, great, this is a live one.
And then you got all the bad guys out there coming after you.
They every year I have clients that have indicated they get these phone calls. I've even received them, and I do call them back and harass them.
Yeah, pretty scary, Greg. So what about what I hear about the IRS revoking passports?
Well, this is interesting. The IRS, being one of the most powerful government agencies in the United States, seems to continue to be given more power and more authority when they have a track record of abusing it. Even though they deny that they don't do that, but they do. So if a person owes over $50,000 in taxes, and you're using that passport, the IRS can tag your passport that this person basically is a delinquent taxpayer, and revoke that passport on site right then and there. Boom, over. The IRS indicates that it's primarily going to be for the use of, things that they think that are drug dealers or terrorists or that kind of thing. But human nature being what it is, it's like, man, I have this power. Yeah. I'm going to use it. That's the unfortunate part. It's that human nature of when we get power, we tend to abuse it, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
So, Greg, in the identity theft process, where does your professional CPA come in? If something were to happen with Dave and I, knock on wood, and hopefully nothing ever does, but do we pick up the phone and call you? And you know how I'm a good delegator, and I like to stay in my own space, what I'm good at. And so anything that's taxes, I just shift it right over to you. And is that what you should be doing?
I would highly recommend that a person do that. I have in the last several years, at least 1 or 2 clients every year that have some sort of identity theft on their taxes. Yeah. And it's ordinarily us that find it. Like I say, when we go to e-file their return, boom, it gets rejected. And so then we notify our clients. Sometimes we know before they do. Yes. However, if they find out first, do call me, Greg Nunn, CPA, at 1-800, no, that's 1-844-767-1040. And I'd be more than happy to help you. Yeah, it's...
So, Greg, we've got 1 minute before we go to take a break. Final word for my listeners.
Final word is be cautious, be aware, and if you have any inkling, any kind of gut sense of identity theft of your Social Security number, check it out. Just check it out and see what's going on. It will prevent a lot of headaches in the future.
Great advice. Greg, thank you so much for coming back in studio, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you, Tina, so much. I really appreciate it.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, the old saying, time is money. Well, hiring an attorney. How do you save time and money? Vincent Humphrey, attorney with Humphreys & Associates, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.